Hey, so if you haven't seen the worst list on Josh's channel, go do that first. Then come back here. Thanks. Welcome to In the Furnace, where we talk about what's hot music, and today I'm joined by the one and only Cicabeot.
Hey guys, my name is Cicabeot1, back again to talk about 2005, this time in a positive light. Or about as positive as you can get with this year.
I mean, this year wasn't that bad. I just narrowly managed to fill up my own personal best list. Okay, yeah, this year wasn't that great.
I mean, I had no trouble filling it, but still kind of a disappointing year, sad to say.
Well, I'm not one to waste time, so let's dive right into this. We're counting down
I've got another confession to make.
the top 10 best hit songs of 2005. Number 10.
Since our opinions on what the best songs of this year were don't perfectly align, the first couple of picks on this list are going to be songs that one of us really likes and the other one is kind of indifferent on. We don't hate them, we just don't see the same things in that song. I'm up first, and I picked John Legend.
Girl, I'm in love with you, but this ain't the honeymoon.
John Legend is an artist that I respect more than I actually enjoy. He's a talented piano player and a gifted vocalist for sure, but his material isn't something I often gravitate to. But Ordinary People is special to me.
We're just ordinary people.
Though it's a bare-bones piano ballad, it manages to do a lot with a little, and I adore it for that.
I've heard it once. It's alright, I guess. What does it sound like again?
Angels, Matt. Angels.
On a technical level, this is probably the most impressive song on the year end for me due to its insanely impressive piano playing. It's intricate and smooth, pairing nicely with the lyrics in which Legend talks about how he and his partner should take it slow because they're not exactly perfect. It's almost like All of Me, though that was lacking in the writing and performance. In Ordinary People, John Legend is touching and thoughtful, making a huge impression on me personally.
We don't know which way to go.
Even early on in my 2005 listening experience, this stood out to me from the rest of the songs on display. Here's a song that, in its own words, wants to take it slow, and it's all the better for it, being one of the most feel-good songs of the year.
I'd hate to dampen the mood, but I at least want to say why this doesn't really click with me. I've never been a huge fan of John Legend as a vocalist, nor do I usually connect with piano ballads that don't erupt at some point. Take All of Me as an example, which was one of my least favorite hits of 2014. At least Ordinary People is pleasant enough that I can see the appeal, even though it's not quite for me.
Guess that's all I can really ask, and for the record, I'm not really that big of a John Legend fan either, so, yeah.
So it's settled. Let's move on.
Number 9.
I did not expect this at all, given my perceived opinion on this band. But wow, this song hit me hard, and it is just an absolutely beautiful experience. Thanks, Backstreet Boys.
Empty spaces.
You're welcome, Halston.
Distant faces.
This song isn't perfect. The opening lyric is rather redundant and silly, the guy singing the chorus is far from the best vocalist on display here, but this instrumental is absolutely fantastic. Incredibly catchy melody from both the piano and strings, a great chord progression, vocal melodies. It's just a wonderfully composed, somber pop song. The subject matter is a breakup, and it is blown to somewhat hyperbolic proportions as without her they feel incomplete, but the energy and the vocals and production absolutely sell it.
Well, I mean, I guess?
Personally, I think what keeps me from appreciating this is aesthetic. I won't deny that there's some great stuff going on here, but to me, this sounds like a Christian rock song. That and the writing just feels overblown and silly, and I just can't connect with it as a result.
Still, I see the appeal, and I've certainly heard worse ballads by boy bands, especially by New Kids on the Block.
Okay, hold up. You think this sounds like a Christian rock ballad? That explains everything. Unlike most of the people probably watching this video, I have a background in Christian rock, namely bands like Red, Skillet, and Thousand Foot Krutch. And while this song here doesn't quite mesh into their styles, it definitely has the polish and presence of a Christian rock ballad. Sorry for that little detour, you just made it click why I love this so much. So, what was that New Kids on the Block ballad like? Oh gosh, that's incredibly cheesy. Screw that.
I know, right? It's like the karaoke version of itself. I'll take Incomplete any day.
And that's good enough for me. At least I think it is. Now let's get to some stuff that we both like. Number 8.
You know this song, right? You love it, right? Actually, I probably shouldn't be making broad statements about our audience and their musical taste. Still, take this song, make it 5 or 6 years later, and this comes out. Enjoy!
I feel like each individual aspect on this song is kinda cheesy, kinda awful. When you bring them all together, they become amazing for some reason.
Oh, there's nothing cheesy about Rob Thomas. Well, except for his voice a little bit. And the fact that this song would inspire me in My Broken Heart by Rixton. Okay, never mind.
Open up to me.
On some level, this feels like a lesser version of Smooth. That's not much of a downgrade, because this is still a jam. Smooth Latin influences with some aggressive guitars and synths are okay in my book. And that chorus and those woes are catchy as hell. Instant earworm.
I would actually argue that this song is better than Smooth. Santana's guitar tone on Smooth and Maria Maria kinda came across as cheap to me, and this song does no such business with it. The guitars here are faint but add to the atmosphere, as the song is mostly dominated by an incredibly catchy synth and horn section. Not to mention the drums are incredibly groovy. Every aspect of this song is subtle, and there's so many aspects that when put together you get this beautiful masterpiece. It's like a collage almost.
But Matt, this doesn't sound anything like the Chainsmokers.
Now it seems to me that you know just what to say.
Rob Thomas himself does put on a pretty good performance too. He is forceful with just the right amount of emotion to pull off a breakup track. It's an angry take, but without being overblown or ridiculous. Okay, it can be a little ridiculous, especially if you mishear this line in particular like I did.
I could do your girlfriend.
I'm glad that's not what he's actually saying, because he definitely could not pull that off. He is still the singer from Matchbox 20, after all. Not that I have anything against them, of course. I still like them a lot.
In reality, he's saying,
Open up to me. I could do your girlfriend.
which, like, ain't a bad line at all. At the same time, Rob seems to be kinda hooked on getting a really serious relationship, which goes far beyond just not being lonely anymore. Not a knock against the song at all, just an interesting observation.
This song is just incredibly nostalgic for me. I remember hearing it all the time on the radio when I was in middle school, and really, I could have sworn that this was way older than 2005. And yeah, I've kind of felt this a few times going through old year-end lists.
Honestly, it's just a timeless classic that will probably never get old. A great song all around. You done good, Rob Thomas. You done good.
Is someone getting the best, the best, the best?
Number 7.
Wait for it. Ah, yeah. That piano is just perfect.
Oh, Chariot, you're golden.
In 2015, I saw Billy Joel in concert, and it was a pretty great show. But before he performed, we got a surprise opening act in the form of Gavin DeGraw, and I was like, oh? After that, I started to realize that quite a few of my personal radio classics were indeed by Gavin DeGraw. I Don't Want to Be, In Love with a Girl, Not Over You, and of course, Chariot. I always thought some of these songs were by the Black Crowes.
And next to Not Over You, this is one of my favorite songs from this guy. And it's probably entirely because of that piano riff.
Meanwhile, I'm kinda pissed that this was the Gavin DeGraw song that made the list, and here's why. It's not a bad song at all, in fact, it's pretty good. That being said, I had literally never heard it before going through the year-end list for this video. Meanwhile, I Don't Wanna Be, a song that goes way back to my childhood and my mom watching One Tree Hill reruns, is relegated to the honorable mentions. It's just unfair, man. My anger is clouding my ability to talk about this song fairly!
Sorry about that. I Don't Want to Be is still really good, but Chariot to me is a journey. One of DeGraw's most passionate performances and some of his smokiest production. That guitar riff to I Don't Want to Be is incredible and iconic and untouchable, but it can't beat these pianos. At least to me.
I can respect that, even though Chariot's chorus isn't near as notable.
True, I guess. I mean, this song is way lower on the list than I Don't Want to Be.
So, any other thoughts? I got nothing.
Well, the music video is kind of dumb.
Why am I seeing girls in gold two-pieces in a Gavin DeGraw video? I mean, this isn't Luke Bryan, get that off my screen!
And I guess the lyrics are weird too.
Your favorite fruit is chocolate-covered cherry.
Why did I need to know that? But other than that, I love this. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Well, ain't that an interesting way to wrap up things? Number 6. So, Kanye West exists.
Now I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke.
Was that a good enough introduction?
You know what, maybe I should just handle most of the intros from now on.
When I talked about 2009 recently, I talked about a song from the 808s and Heartbreaks era, and now I finally get to talk about a song where Kanye's actually rapping in his own song. It's great. Real great. One of the most iconic songs of his career, and it still holds up incredibly well.
Yeah, about that...
What? You don't think this holds up very well?
No, it holds up fine. I've just never been the biggest fan of this song.
I could tell you rock, I could tell by your charm.
Don't get me wrong, the sampling is great and Kanye's bars are incredibly on point, but it gets a tad bit repetitive for my liking. I wonder how different the song would be if Jamie sung 4 bars from the original song and had that looped, instead of mainly just 2.
I think just the 2 bars are fine, really. If they jammed any more lines in there, it would probably sound cluttered. Besides, he's supposed to be in the background, to the point where I would more consider him a part of the beat than a featured vocalist. And that, in my opinion, is genius.
It is, but like, it's so repetitive. The beat doesn't really do anything else besides that sample, and it gets kind of frustrating.
What about the electric horns? That's something, right?
Now I ain't saying you a gold digger, you got knees.
I mean, I guess. I don't know why, of all the repetitive, minimalistic rap songs, freaking Gold Digger has to be the one that doesn't completely click with me. Oh well, at least it made the list.
Let me hear that back.
Number 5.
On July 20th of this year, we lost an important figure in the music scene of my generation. Somebody who, even if you didn't really like their stuff, you could at least admire them for their creative drive and their energy. We miss you, Chester. This one's for you.
Can I get an encore? Do you want more? Cook and roll with the Brooklyn boys.
As a near lifelong Linkin Park fan, talking about Chester's death is kinda hard for me, given as that day was easily one of the hardest days of my entire life. So instead, I want to bring up a shocking tidbit. This song is here because of Josh, not me. You might be thinking, Matt, you're a huge Linkin Park fan. Numb is your favorite song of all time. Why don't you love this? And the answer, quite simply, is because I feel that this version tampers with what made Numb so great. Gone are the loads of punchy guitars that give the chorus its anthemic feel, as well as a lot of the authentic drums. Instead, we get a song that leans more toward rap instead of rock, with Jay-Z fusing it with his song Encore. I've not heard the original Encore, but I can say that the lyrics from the song seem to match more of an uplifting in-your-face song, and Numb isn't that at all. It's this clash that makes this song kind of fall flat for me. It's still a version of Numb, which is why I like it, but wow, I just wish this could have been better.
The original Numb still holds a special place in my heart, and if I ever make a Best of 2004 list, it will most certainly make that list with no difficulty. But I fell in love with this remix only after a couple listens. Yes, the beat is slightly reworked to place a greater emphasis on synths and samples than guitars, but it's still familiar to Linkin Park fans while Jay-Z drops some pretty dope bars for the first half. I do wish that the lyrics of Numb got to shine a little more. You only get the first verse, and in my opinion, the second verse of this song is the one that really hits the hardest. But this is more of a novelty anyway, yet it's a novelty that you can tell everyone involved worked really hard on.
I do miss the crunching guitars of this remix, but the electronic elements, I think, kind of make up for it in a big way. Same for that "What the hell are you waiting for" part.
What the hell are you waiting for?
This line probably would have been jarring in the original Numb, but here they get the song pumping even more. That and the reworked instrumental turn what was originally a dour track into a banger, all without fundamentally changing the feel of the original song. And that to me is a miracle.
And no, I haven't heard the original Encore either, because it's stuck behind a paywall. Thanks, Jay!
Well, I guess we can agree to disagree on how the fusion with Encore affects the feel with Numb, but at least we can both agree that Tidal is trash.
Spotify for life.
Number 4.
A lot of this list feels very one-sided towards my opinions, and no, that's not a result of me skewing the results or the list, that's just kinda how it worked out. But I promise, there are songs on this list that both Matt and I equally enjoy. Such as this one.
Here I am, once again, I'm torn into pieces.
On the rock side of things, Kelly Clarkson dominated the 2005 year-end list. She had 4 songs. 4. And wow, I had forgotten just how tight and awesome this is. I didn't even know that this was called Behind These Hazel Eyes until pretty recently, actually.
Heck, I'm so happy this song is here, and this tie too. It's such a classic. Now, I've made it no secret that modern Kelly Clarkson tends to piss me off. Stronger, What Doesn't Kill You, and Heartbeat Song are close to the worst song from each of their respective years. Fortunately, back in 2005, she was actually a pretty solid artist, and to me, this is her magnum opus. Not just because it's Kelly Clarkson making a legit rock song, but really this lane of angst works so much better for her than empty empowerment anthems. I don't buy generic uplifting cliches, but I do buy that this X left her torn into pieces. Such a raw and powerful song.
It's also rare to see guitars with borderline gothic crunch on the Hot 100. What other hits from this century would this even describe? Evanescence? The Veronicas? Yeah, this is definitely welcome in my book. Even outside the guitars just being the best thing in the world, Kelly's performance here is raw and emotional, showing determination that you just don't see in her these days. And yes, I'm with Matt in saying this is probably her best song.
I could understand if someone were to prefer Since You've Been Gone, but this song definitely clicks more with me. A fantastic song through and through.
Behind these hazel eyes.
Number 3.
This was my number 1. We'll get to Matt's number 1 in just a bit, but this is the song that connected with me the most out of every song on the 2005 year-end list. To me, it's a classic, and its popularity endures even 12 years later. Why not? It's Mr. Friggin' Brightside!
Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down.
I've said this time and time again that I am an absolute sucker for melancholy, and this is definitely one of the most melancholic songs out there. Written right at the start of the Killers' formation and fueled by the emotions of a very recent breakup for the lead singer, and I can hear it in absolutely everything, from Brandon Flowers' somewhat monotone verse that's constantly on the verge of cracking, to the guitar plucks, to frantic drumming. This song sends a rush of blood to my heart, and is legitimately one of the most intense listening experiences for me personally.
Hey man, it's great that you feel this way, so could you just do the rest of the entry? I mean, the song was only decent here for me.
Oh, come on, Matt. You really have nothing to say? Come on, let's get your feelings out, man. They don't have to all be positive, I swear.
Aw, okay. Thanks, Josh. This has really always been just another 2000s rock song to me. It's not bad, but it has some noticeable flaws that weigh it down for me, namely the mixing. You can barely hear the drums in the chorus, and that's a big problem to me. Then there's the lyrics, which I still don't really know what they're trying to say, except for one line that I found incredibly childish.
Now they're going to bed and my stomach is sick and it's all in my head, but she's touching its chest now.
Yes, we all know what was supposed to rhyme with sick. I simply don't find this remotely funny or clever. Weighs down the song for me immensely. So that's pretty much my thoughts. Sorry for being a downer.
Don't worry about it. Okay, my turn.
Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine.
Though this technically only has one verse, the subtle differences in delivery between the first and second half give a sense of progression and catharsis, as Flowers gets more and more paranoid about what he doesn't see between the one he loves and some other man. It's frantic, it's intense, but it's still poppy enough to sing along with and just let loose. And the I nevers at the end, transcendent. One of my favorite outros ever, gets me every time. 2 words have never hit so hard.
And I'm done. You still there, Matt?
Yep, hi.
Good, because we have 2 entries left, and I promise you like them. Let's go.
Yay, let's do it!
Is someone getting the best, the best, the best?
Number 2. This next song is by a band that I am absolutely sick of. They released one of the most mediocre records of 2017, yet many of my friends still obsess over them like they're gods. At least their one hit was one of their best songs, and a great one at that.
I, on the other hand, haven't heard Humans yet, so I don't really have much of an opinion on that, obviously. I did, however, listen to Gorilla's self-titled album pretty recently, and I wasn't all that impressed.
Feel Good Inc., on the other hand, is one of those songs where pretty much every single line is iconic. From Damon Albarn's, and yes, I'm choosing to call him this instead of 2D for this entry, defeated verse and chorus to the taunts and jeers from De La Soul. This is, in my opinion, a perfectly written song.
Not to be a contrarian, but I honestly couldn't care less about these lyrics. Never paid attention to them, probably never will. Why is De La Soul talking about a chocolate attack? I don't know. What I do know is that this song sounds absolutely wonderful. It blends a funky bass line, gleaming orchestras, and delicate guitars together to create this song that sounds like two songs got accidentally glued together, and yet it works seamlessly. I can't think of many other songs that have parts that sound this different from each other and yet have perfect flow. That being said, I most definitely prefer Damon's parts to De La Soul's, but still, a great song nonetheless.
My personal favorite Gorillaz song is Clint Eastwood, but Feel Good Inc. is a close second, definitely. It's funky, it's somber, and it just sounds awesome. Enough said.
And now, honorable mentions, including the opportunity for Matt to talk about some songs that he really likes.
A weaker Kelly Clarkson hit this year, and definitely less aggressive than the two bigger ones, but still a fine rock/pop song nonetheless.
It was refreshing to hear a rapper who wasn't trying to be ridiculously sexual, plus I really like this hook.
A very good song, but missed the great tier for me simply because the chorus isn't quite as punchy as I'd like it to be.
Beverly Hills is a piece of crap. That's right, a 50 Cent song in the honorable mentions. It's mostly for the beat, admittedly, but damn if Dr. Dre didn't make a beat that could actually bring out the best in 50s style. Patrick Stump is insane. Always has been. But oftentimes that's his best quality.
This song has the same sample as Do You Mind by DJ Khaled, and honestly I'd argue this song is even better than that one. Sensual, loving verses from Usher and Ludacris, and an absolutely hilarious verse from Lil Jon that doesn't fit the mood at all. Truly a work of art. Probably one of the best choruses of all time, period. If only the rest of this song felt a bit more developed, or maybe could have squeezed it onto our actual list.
And now, number 1.
So, the reason that this list is a little skewered towards songs that I like is because we're gonna do something a little different this time around, specifically for the number 1 spot. Matt, you want to explain it?
Gladly. Fortunately, my 3 favorite hit songs of the year were our collective top 3, in that order. All of these songs are also by the same band, so we decided to just collapse these 3 songs into one entry for this list. 2005 may have felt like the year of 50 Cent or Ludacris, but to me, 2005 will always be the year of Green Day.
American Idiot is our favorite album of all time, so when all was said and done, I think it makes more sense to talk about their 3 hits from this year, Holiday, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and Wake Me Up When September Ends, as one whole rather than as separate entries. Variety is important after all. If you want a more concrete ordering, technically number 3 is Holiday, number 2 is Boulevard, and number 1 is September.
This is just a group of absolutely fantastic songs. The urgency and thrill of Holiday, the anthemic drama of Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and the heartbreak of Wake Me Up When September Ends. All of these songs have a concrete purpose on their own and on the album, and I find them to be absolutely beautiful in that regard.
Even before I listened to the full album, I was absolutely obsessed with all 3 of these songs. though at the time I didn't realize how critical they were of American government and the like. Well, in this case that only really applies to Holiday, I guess, the most bombastic of the three. It helps set the stage early on in the album's narrative for a rebellion against war and corruption. The guitar riffs are instantly memorable, and that bridge is absolutely insane in the best ways. Boulevard of Broken Dreams shifts the focus to nostalgia, or rather the misery of nostalgia, mixed in with a little bit of destitution. And yes, it deserved to be #1 over frickin' Candy Shop.
And while all of these songs sound awesome, feel awesome, and are well written, none of them compare to the brilliance that is Wake Me Up When September Ends.
Like the later 21 Guns, Green Day take a ballad approach toward the end of the album to get a little more personal. In this case, to take a little detour to explore the emotions frontman Billy Joe experienced when his father died when he was a kid. And like with Mr. Brightside, his performance sells it perfectly. This track builds from simple guitar plucks to a cathartic release later on that hits hard every single time.
And it's not just the lyrics that makes these songs so great, as they sound amazing too. The fierce drum work in Holiday, the tremolo guitars in Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and that famous acoustic guitar in Wake Me Up When September Ends give all these songs a distinct flavor and impact. Wake Me Up When September Ends is my favorite hit of 2005, not just because it's impactful on a lyrical level, but an instrumental one too. Though it's not quite What's Her Name, it is a perfect song, and one of my favorite songs of all time, hands down.
Same here. September was my #2 for the year, and it's not even my favorite on the album. That goes to Homecoming, but you can't exactly play that on the radio. Matt and I have had our disagreements, but we both agree. Green Day is fantastic, and deserves the title of Best Song of the Year. Don't question it.
And that's our list. If you like what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe. If you didn't like what you saw, feel free to dislike and ignore us forever.
If you don't fit that last description, come over to the description and check out my channel and subscribe. I talk about music a lot like this a lot of the time, and I think you're gonna like it. In the meantime, take care.
And as always, I'm Matt. You've been watching In the Furnace with your boy Cicabeot, and take care until next time.
Key lane while you walking, you know that it's on the furnace.